Good morning and welcome back into the ASUG News Studio. My name is Tom Whalegum and we are very happy to have Vijay Patki in the news studio this morning. Welcome.
Thank you, Tom.
Vijay works at Nike. Can you tell us just a little bit about what you do there?
Yeah, so let me first tell you about my professional experience. That will make more sense what I do at Nike. So I started my career 20 years back in business, on the business side as a logistics manager. But from there I switched on to SAP. And first I worked on the SAP ERP for 4 years as a materials management consultant. And then I switched on to BI, SAP BI. It was nearly 12 years ago. And I have worked in nearly development, architecture, business consulting, all areas. So during a project at Nike, I wear different hats at different times. Beginning of the project, I do business consulting and BSA work. Then I switch to solution architect.
So you have a great broad base of experience to go draw on.
Yeah, I was lucky to gather that over the time, but I think it really helps Nike also because they have somebody present, same person present during all phases of the project, which really helps.
And you know not to just do IT for IT's sake, you really have that good perspective.
Exactly, because of my business experience is really helping me to bring that perspective, even though I'm an IT person last 15 years, but really that experience is still there, that was my first experience.
Right.
And yeah.
Well, you made a great presentation yesterday on SelfService BI. This is a very hot topic among the ASUG community. Tell us a little bit just about the SAP BI tools that are kind of involved in this project, or what are the kind of technology, and then we'll move into the kind of business benefits and how you ran the project.
Yeah, so basically we are using all SAP tools. So we are using the SAP BW 7.0 version. And which is more specific to retail BI, so we have all the retail content there. And then for the front end, we started using Bex Analyzer, Query Designer, and NetWeaver Portal for the users to access. But just last month, we released the business objects analysis for Office tool for our users, and they really love that.
That's great. Yeah. So self-service BI, that's kind of your topic. That can mean a lot of different things to a lot of different people. How did Nike approach self-service BI? What was the kind of overriding philosophy as you went into this project, this experience?
I think really good question. So when we were doing our requirement gathering with the business during our workshops, we were getting a feel, like even though we have a list of reports, there is something which either users don't know or we don't know, because we are switching from a non-SAP system to a SAP system. A lot of unknowns there.
Right.
And so we thought maybe we should try self-service BI, where as the requirements pop up, users should be empowered to fulfill them. So our vision, or you can call guiding principles, was users should have access to all the data. They should know about the data and tool, both. Means it's not enough to just know the tool.
Right.
And then quick turnaround time, within minutes or hours, and not like weeks or days.
Right.
Means really that was the focus. And we were sure this will reduce our total cost of operations also, because IT will be focusing more on the long-term, strategic things, and not like simple reports for the users.
Right.
So, and that's where all this started.
You were very proactive at the outset, really about getting user engagement, and that's a huge challenge for a lot of companies. They just might focus too much on the IT requirements and not really get that. Tell us about your plan for that, and did it work? Really engaging them, being proactive, seeking them out, the user community.
I think it really helped, because what happens is when normally in any IT project, the business comes in at the beginning to give their requirements, and then we forget about them till we need their approval for the user acceptance testing. But I think what we decided here, that we will engage the users from very beginning and make sure they are part of each and every process. So they feel belonged to the whole process, and we gather their trust, and it really helps for the adoption.
Absolutely. You said something interesting in your presentation about, and you just touched on it a little bit, learning the tool is not enough. The users should know the data.
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Oh, really? So you can take it as an analogy between a car and a map. You can teach somebody how to drive a car, but if they don't have a map, of the city, it's very difficult for them to navigate.
Right.
And they might get lost. So the same thing what we decided, the users, it's easy to train them on the tool. But we needed them to understand how the data has been stored, how they can access, and what is the most effective way to access.
Right.
So we put more focus during our training on the business data training too.
And how's that worked out?
Really good. See, business already knows the data, but if we tell them how we have stored it and how organized it and how they can access, they are the people who learn it very fast.
But you also didn't want to be too techie with them, right? I mean, how did you manage that? Giving them the access, but
Yes.
not boring them with acronyms and.
Very, very good question. So what we did, we used the SAP BW multi-providers.
Okay.
Now this is little technical, but that is a place where you can put the business friendly descriptions for all the fields. So we have a data model, and each and every field we kind of made sure, working with the business, what will be the best description to put there. So when they come to the data model, they find it they find it like familiar. It's not something, and that when it's familiar, they're ready to try, and once they try, they get latched up to the whole thing.
So what about the business results? Have you there've been dramatic improvements in things, or they've just embraced it? I'm just wondering, what you can point to for those benefits.
Really, that it was that's what we saw the success. Like initially, even during cutover, they were ready to create their own reports so that when we go live,
you don't
they
hear
can
that
start
too
using
often.
it. Exactly.
Yeah.
And we allowed them to use our QA system with the production size data so that they can practice it there. And then during the cutover weekend, they actually came over a weekend and they created their own report.
Hold on a second. Business users came in on a cutover weekend?
Cutover weekend.
You're lying. That's not possible.
And it's really very critical reports for them. And it would have taken them weeks to develop it after go live, if they will start after that. So they practiced it, and copying them is not that big a deal. So they did it over a weekend, and they were just ready to go.
Right.
And over the time we track the usage of the data. There is a very cool feature in BW, which is BI statistics, which tells you which users are using what data. And we found like the ad hoc usage has surpassed the IT delivered reports.
Wow.
And that itself shows like if they are using it more, that means they are finding value there.
That really is self-service BI right there.
And that's where we wanted to kind of share it with the rest of the community so that they can also use it.
Now, I'm sure not everything went perfectly. Was one challenge sticks out in your mind, and how did you guys overcome it? And any challenges like that?
I think the challenges were more on the the super users. So this is the first time they are using this tool. So they had little bit trouble starting. Some of them were very savvy and could catch up. So they were not creating their own reports. So what we did, we kind of created some starter queries or templates, which are like everything is ready. You just add or remove whatever you don't need. And I think that really helped. That brought more people on. And the training. So normally we stop giving one training, but they were vocal saying they need follow-up training because not everybody uses it every day.
Right.
And we kind of did that too.
Great.
So I think these are two areas which we thought.
So your final question here, what's your one best practice or piece of advice for a fellow member watching who wants to, roll out a program similar to this or their own version of self-service BI? What would you one piece of advice you'd give them?
I think I will say the super users. They are the single most important component of your whole project.
Yep.
And listen to them and get them trained and ready. Because when they say something, it's really what is very relevant to them.
Yep.
And see, IT is not using it every day. They are just creating it.
Sure.
So I think super users give you a very valuable advice. And I think we should use that. Never ignore them. Even if you don't agree with that, go for it, I'm telling you. It will really help in the adoption.
Well, great. Well, thank you, Vijay, for stopping by. This was a very great interview, and I'm glad to hear about your successes at Nike.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to share our success.
Great. Stay tuned on asugnews.com for more interviews live from ASUG Annual Conference and Sapphire Now.